here. Welcome to another Fireside chat. This one's going to be different than my usual Fireside chats, and that'll be analyzing things over a broader spectrum. So I'm calling this a villain analysis because I have a lot to say on the broken code because it's exciting and we're only partway through, halfway. And yeah, there's a lot to think about and to analyze and to predict. So I'm going to be doing that for a little while because it's fun. But anyway, so as a mental exercise, I was as I've been reading the broken code, and we're getting more clues to who the imposter is without getting the reveal, which we definitely know at least it's in part Ashfur. That just cannot be. That's going to happen. That is definitely the case. It's Ashfur. Spoilers through all of this, of course. It's Ashfur. But there's definitely some kind of hint or something about him not being alone in his job. So I did a little villain analysis where I took notes on every villain in the main arcs and tried to come up with some system of trying to figure out a cat who could be a good, basically like the main villain. Whereas Ashfur is just kind of like the pawn that's been distracting us this entire time by looking like he's the main villain. When really, I actually think we might have a more mastermind villain behind the scenes that's pulling all this off, holding all of the pieces. Anyway, so I went through and I did this analysis. I started, obviously, with Broken Star. He is the first villain to ever show up in the series, just by the main arcs. And I went through and I listed his crimes. He's broken the code. His crimes were stealing kits from other clans, and he was also apprenticing the kits in his clan before 6 moons. So they were dying a lot because they were getting hurt easily. That can happen to any apprentice, let alone basically a kit apprentice. He drove out Wind Clan, and he worked with Tiger Claw, and he died twice, both times to his mom, Yellowfang. So, as far as Broken Star being the real villain behind all this, I don't think so. He has no problems breaking the code. He has no problems rewriting the code. He has no problems just basically pretending the code doesn't exist. And he's from the old forest. Like, really old. So, it doesn't make any sense that he would be the villain. So I X'd him out, but that's what he did. Tiger Star 1 was my next candidate. And he's kind of in the same place as Broken Star a bit. He attempted murder. He murdered. He tried to kill his clan. He united the clans, which is also breaking the code. And he died twice in the Dark Forest. One time he died to Scourge, and then obviously the second time to Firestar. So it doesn't stand to reason that he'd be the villain either. I doubt we'll have Tiger Star return a third time. And I doubt he would want to enforce the Warrior Code so strongly. Then we have Scourge. I just have to add Scourge in here. I don't know what happened to Scourge. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's anywhere. I don't know. I think the writers forgot about him. I would love to know more about this guy. Yeah. He's definitely not going to be the one enforcing the code. He was a rogue, an alley cat, blood clan. He has absolutely no business in this. Yeah, no, it's not Scourge. Mudclaw, though, was my next villain. He shows villainous actions a bit before Hawkfrost, and his arc ends before Hawkfrost, so I started with Mudclaw. And he's actually a very, very good candidate for this. He actually has a good reason to want to enforce the Warrior Code. He was deputy under Tallstar, and when Tallstar died, his dying wish was to appoint One Whisker as deputy and then leader. Mudclaw got cheated, and I could understand why he feels that way, even if I think he would have made a cruddy leader. One Star ended up being a cruddy leader anyway, I guess, so would have been in the same position. But I could understand where he may feel like this, so I'm holding him off for later. He's only died once. I believe he went to Star Clan. I'm pretty sure. I don't think we ever see him there, but I'm pretty sure he's a Star Clan cat. And yeah, so I'm holding him off as a possible candidate. He, he's got a good chance of being one of those, one of the masterminds to this whole plan. Then we have Hawktruck. Hawktruck is just a very strong code breaker himself, and I doubt he would want to enforce the code. Hawktruck, I would have loved to see him play a bigger part than what he did. But he definitely isn't that. He's also died twice, both times by Bramble's Claw Star, so I doubt it's him. I really don't think it is. So I'm not putting him on my list, my final list. Then we have another candidate, and I only put him on this list. I know he's not considered a villain, but I also had to include controversial characters on this list because of the hint we got for this arc. So 1 star is made the list. He is a controversial character as they come. He's the most controversial as they come. And I also have a reason for picking him beyond this. And I don't know that I would have put him here otherwise. But I knew I knew general story hints because my cousin doesn't mind spoiling things for me. Yay, I don't mind spoilers at all. Because it's also nice, too, knowing that going into reading other arcs before. She told me there was going to be a cat that was an imposter enforcing the warrior code. And I was like, cool. So I read a vision of Shadows as I was reading it. And I think it was Shadowed Sky, but I'm not sure. It was one of those ones where 1 star is more crazy than usual. And had his, and he was basically, shut off his clan. And it's noted there that he was, and this is from the book itself, go back and read this. He enforced the warrior code more harshly, and he was actually exiling code breakers. No joke. He was doing this before the imposter ever did. And I don't know. I could see him, if he did that once, I could very well see him holding this plan again. I don't know why he would do that, but it's possible. And him and Ashford together would both be very controversial characters. Both of them are. I would say Ashford is actually less controversial than 1 star. But the fact that 1 star actually had this on his mind before makes me wonder. And he himself was a codebreaker once. He had a kit outside of the clans with a kitty pet, Darktail, and that blew up in his face. And I could see him maybe trying to keep other cats from those mistakes, or maybe he's mad or something is how that turned out. I don't know. But, he's dead, and it's a possibility he could be the one. The other cat we have, and this is actually the one I thought originally until I heard it was a Tom. So I'm only putting her on this my final list because if there is a mastermind behind this plan, we actually don't know if that could be a she-cat or a Tom. So I am keeping her on the list until we know if there's a mastermind and if it's a boy or a girl. But Hollyleaf. Hollyleaf is probably one of the higher ones for this list. I mean, come on. She basically was like, worship the code in life. I mean, she was just warrior code. It's like a joke at this point, but she seriously was. And that's the first cat I thought of. I'm like, well, come on, that's got to be Hollyleaf. But who knows? Maybe she's the mastermind. She did technically break the code, but yeah, she's basically really all about the code in life, so it's possible. And she's dead too, which also helps. Asher I have on my list. I don't actually understand at all even why he's part of this, except just as a pawn. He has absolutely no other reason to be on here. He was a code breaker himself, and he never had problems with the warrior code, so it doesn't make sense. The next one I have is Soul. And Soul, I actually think, is also a good one. I definitely think he should be on the final list. Soul, you can read his it's technically Leaf Star's graphic novel, but Soul features in it strongly. He basically, I'll do a character corner on him later, but basically he definitely has problems with clan cats in the code, in Star Clan, and all of the above. He wants to get back at the warriors, and he's old enough to have died. We do not have confirmation of that, but he's definitely far old enough that he could definitely be dead. He's probably older than Squirrel Flight at this point, I would guess. I mean, I would think he'd be far older than she is, but yeah, I mean, he hates the clans and hates the code and hates Star Clan. I don't know but I think he could almost be on that list. I could see him, trying to tear down the clans again through using this or something. I mean, Soul's pretty manipulative and smart. I could see him doing something like this. Even if he hates the code, I could see him trying to enforce it strongly for the other cats, just to make them suffer. Then we have other Dark Forest cats. And I only even put this on the list too because now the Dark Forest is becoming relevant again. Yay, I'm happy for that because I don't feel like something was resolved there. I usually like villains to stay dead, but I feel like the Dark Forest really wasn't truly defeated. I feel like a piece of it was left with no resolution at all. Like, yes, they killed a bunch of the major Dark Forest players, but what about Mapleshade? What about Darkstripe? One Eye supposedly went to the Dark Forest. He's a Dawn of the Clans cat, by the way, not the One Eye Elder. One Eye, the bad guy. And then there's Maggot Tail, Shred Tail, Snow Tuft. Like, they're all sitting in the Dark Forest, totally able to rise up and be evil. Where are they? What are they doing? And with these, Book 5 is called A Place of No Stars, and I hope some of these cats make a debut again. I hope they have something to do with this, and maybe they do. I think they actually have a strong possibility of that. Because if Book 5 is called A Place of No Stars, that could be where the Mastermind is. I have no idea if it's true, but it's a possibility. And until I get further evidence on that, that is just one possibility. They wouldn't have much in the way of knowledge that I need as a criteria later on in this analysis, but they are still possible. Then we have Darktail, and I could definitely see him being, I think he's similar to Soul in this analysis. I'm putting him on my final list for several reasons. I really would love Darktail to do more. He really should have been a much more prominent villain in Vision of Shadows. He was great. But he hates his dad, he hates the clans, he hates the code. And I think it's sad with Darktail. I actually could see, I think he needed a novella desperately. I kind of wish he'd eventually have one. But I don't see him getting one, sadly. But I definitely think Darktail has an interesting story because in the same way that One Star could want to enforce the code because he made a mistake in having a kitten with a kitty pet, I think Darktail has a similar opposite perspective where he remembers his dad rejecting him because of the code, because he broke the code, and because then he wouldn't be allowed in the clan. And I could see Darktail being like, oh no, this code, I am going to make you guys pay anyway. And, he's also dead, so that's also great for him. He could definitely be a mastermind. I think in similar way to Soul, I think Darktail was far smarter than we gave him credit for. I don't think it always showed, but obviously I think he was pretty persuasive and pretty smart. The Shadow Clan apprentices were probably willing to go with him anyway, but he was probably pretty persuasive if he convinced most of the clan to actually follow him. Just saying. I definitely think that he was on par with Soul for smarts. Then I have Sleek Whisker. Sleek Whisker, I don't even know what to say about this cat. She was a villain, for sure. She definitely played a bad guy part, but I kind of imagine her still alive. Could she be dead? Who knows? I definitely think if she was dead, she'd either be in the Dark Forest or just nowhere. I have no idea if she believes in any of that, but I would imagine she'd go there. I don't know. But she's at least a villain, and she's possible. I mean, she would hate the code and the clans altogether. I could definitely see her being a mastermind. And it would be cool to have her as a mastermind villain through all of this. Then we have an interesting point, and I don't really know what to do with this. So we have a line in the book where the imposter's saying something to Shadowsight about him being able to bend cats to his will, and he mentions a cat that matches the description of Spidersight, but it also matches the description of Juniper Claw. And both of these cats had somewhat, Spidersight doesn't have any evil intentions, at least not in Tiger Heart Shadow, but in Veil of Shadows, I'm like, dude, this cat's acting sketchy. He really was. Fireside, I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing nothing? That's not like Spidersight. It just didn't seem like him in his book. Well, in Tiger Heart's book, where Spidersight features. And Spidersight could be evil. He could be bent to be evil. I don't know if he's just a pawn or the actual mastermind of this, I have no clue. But him and Juniper Claw both match the description, and Juniper Claw was evil for a little bit, or at least did bad things, so who knows, they might play a part, but I'm not putting them on my final list because I don't think either of them are the mastermind of this plan. Now I get into some more details. The imposter knows Squirrel Flight and is very clueless, if you ask me. So that's probably Ashfur. That makes sense to be Ashfur. But I'm going more in depth on the mastermind of the plan. Who is that? And what would they have to know? Well, when they gave Shadowside the original prophecy, they know this. Whoever this is, if it's even Ashfur, I don't even know at this point if it was actually Ashfur doing that or the quote-unquote imposter doing this. I actually am not sure that's the case anymore. Because this cat not only knows Jay and Lion Blaze, Jay Feather and Lion Blaze, but it also knows Twig Branch and Dovewing. And that really threw me for a loop and confused me. And I'm like, wait a minute. If this is supposed to be Ashfur, right off the bat, this cat knows who Dovewing and Twig Branch are. And it just doesn't make sense. But then he doesn't seem to know all the modern cats in the clan either. So it's just really weird to me that I almost think this cat that was originally, like, after he got struck by lightning and all that kind of stuff, and he received this prophecy, and, like, I don't know, all these weird things happen to Shadowside anyway. He's just kind of, like, doomed to get, hurt and in trouble. I don't know, the poor cat. But he had this prophecy later, and I just don't think it was the imposter talking to him now. I don't really think it was, because it doesn't seem to have the same, like, knowledge and things anymore. But it has to know those cats. And Twig Branch is actually the most recent of those cats. So I had to think, well, okay, you know, like anything that the cat's doing, like knowing Squirrel Flight and liking her, hating Spark Pelt and Leaf Pool, like those are all Ashfur things. But this knowing the cats that are quote-unquote code breakers, which they were code breakers, but for good reasons, sure. This cat would definitely have to be up to snuff with a Vision of Shadows. It would have to know what was going on there. It would have to know Twig Branch's crimes to state that she was a code breaker. If it's just Ashfur, he wouldn't have any idea who she is or why she's a code breaker at all. Plus, I also think the code breaking agenda doesn't make sense for Ashfur, so besides that point. So, in going with that, that means that the imposter would have to be, well, I'm going to add Soul on this list just because we don't even know where Soul is or what he's doing, or if he's a ghost wandering around himself because he's a rogue and doesn't go to any resting place. You know, like the sisters are showing us, like the ghost can just wander around sometimes. That group from Trees, Roots, and Squirrel Flight's Hope. You know, Soul could know these things just because he's going to bring his wrath on the clans, and he's wandered around for a while till he knew enough, which I could see Soul doing. So I'm adding Soul as one of my final candidates for the Mastermind. He fits every criteria. He could definitely pull that role off, and I think he could know what's going on just because he wouldn't go to a resting place. Then we have the other one that has to be on there is Darktail. Darktail knows who Twig, well, he knows Twig anyway. He wouldn't have known exactly all of her flip-flopping between the clans, but, you know, he might definitely have some, he definitely could be on here potentially, I think. And the other one's Sleek Whisker. I think Sleek Whisker has a very high chance of being the mastermind of this plan because she would know all of this. So, Ashfur might be playing as a pawn for now. He might be playing a part. But there is definitely something else going on behind these scenes, and I am here for it. I love it. And, you know, so I definitely think we're looking at the mastermind of the plan being Soul, Darktail, or Sleek Whisker. And if it is anyone else, it just would not make any sense, in my opinion. Those are the ones that fit it to the T. They definitely fit the entire, what I would expect doing this in an analysis format of, you know, who would be the mastermind. It's got to be either Soul, Sleek Whisker, or Darktail, I would think. And Ashfur is definitely a pawn. But anyway, so that's my analysis, my little mental exercise on all the villains of the main series. There are more villains, but I did the main series ones because I think they've kept the main series away from you don't have to read the novellas and the main arcs to get every you don't have to read the novellas and super editions to understand the main arc, and I like that. So I don't think they would do that. So anyway, this has been fun. I hope you like it. I hope this made some interesting points. I'll be back later on with hopefully some more analyses on some of the Broken Code topics. I'll probably take a break for a while to do a character corner, but I'd like to come back and do some more discussion on this. So please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so I can make more videos. Hope this was fun. Keep reading and enjoy.